What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sanity Fitness, taking you to the next level podcast. I'm your host, Cedric, and today we're going to be talking about progressive overload, or in more general terms, we're going to be talking about training, right? Now, progressive overload might sound like a big, scary word to some of you if you've never heard it. If you're new to the gym, you may not have heard it, but most of you, if you've been in the gym, you know about it. So I'm not going to go super deep into what it is, but just to give you guys a general definition, like a quick one. Progressive overload basically just means that you're continuously making things a little bit more difficult for yourself in the gym so that your body can adapt to it and get stronger over time or progress in some type of way, right? Now, the ways that you can go about getting this progressive overload is going to come in so many different ways. So I'm just going to name a few here. Like one of those ways that you can do it can be the classic way that most people think about, and that's increasing weights, right? Usually, this is the way that most people think about making progress. Especially when you're new in the gym, all you can think about for most guys out there is going to be, I need to keep adding weights to my bench press. And when you're bench pressing, like you're just thinking about last week I did 135 pounds, next week I need to do a bit more. And most of the time, people will just, when they're starting out, anyways, they'll start off with just trying to do the same rep scheme all the time, 3 by 8 every single week, and then hoping that the next week they can do that same amount of reps and sets for the same amount of weight, right? But there's a lot more ways that you can actually go about getting this progressive overload. And another one of those ways is going to be reps. So you don't need to actually do the same rep scheme all the time. To optimize your training, it doesn't actually have to be exactly 8 reps. Doesn't have to be exactly 3 sets all the time. That's just the most common one that I see is 3 by 8. But you can go like to optimize your hypertrophy, you can go anywhere from like 5 reps to 20 reps or even more sometimes. It kind of depends on what of like how you're training the muscles. But for the most part, like 5 to 15 is where I would say like that's where I normally train. Sometimes I'll go a little bit higher reps. Kind of depends on how tired you are too, right? So you have to think of it in terms of how good do you feel. Like if you're somebody who works a manual labor job and all day long you're doing a lot of heavy lifting and you're working throughout the day and you're exhausted by the time you go to the gym, you might not be feeling like doing 15 to 20 reps in the gym for every single set, right? So in that case, the best way to go about it might be to just go like a little bit heavier and do less reps. Like if you were to do 5, even less in some cases, but I wouldn't recommend it. It wouldn't be like optimal for growing muscle. That'd be more of kind of a powerlifting type of lifting. But basically anything over 5 reps, it's going to be able to put some like a good amount of stress on your muscles in the right way for you to reach hypertrophy. And like ideally, you would go as heavy as you can for that number of sets and reps. And that's what really matters, right? It's just working hard in the gym. So the rep scheme is one of those ways that you can look to make progress. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like the range is pretty huge. It can go from 5 to 20, and you can go any way that you want. So, like the last time, maybe you did 5 reps in the gym. Maybe for the next time, you might want to do 6 reps for the same amount of weight, right? So you can just change a little bit like how much you're doing. Think of it more in terms of volume rather than just how much weight you're lifting. So if one week you did 3 sets of 8 for like 185 on your bench press, the next week you don't necessarily have to go up to 190 or 195 or anything like that. What you can do is just go from your 3 by 8 and go ahead and do, maybe you want to do 4 by 8 or maybe 4 by 8 or 3 by 8 and then a fourth set of 7 reps, right? Just push yourself and add a little bit more stress so that you can progress in some kind of way, but it doesn't always need to be in weights. Um, Another way, of course, is going to be sets. Like I was just saying, is just increasing the number of sets you're doing. If you're ever stuck and you just absolutely cannot do any more sets, which really you can always do, right? So there's always a way to progress as long as you're tracking your weights, because you could be doing as much as 7 sets and like the next time you just add an 8th set in there, right? You just add in something a little bit more than what you did last time, and that's going to help you to progress in some type of way and eventually lead to lifting heavier, whatever your overall goal is. But if you're training for hypertrophy and training to get bigger muscles and aesthetics, then there's always ways that you can change up your training to make yourself lift heavier and heavier. And you don't necessarily have to work on increasing your strength and increasing your pounds that you're lifting, right? So with all that being said, like, because there's always ways to go about this progressive overload, what's really important isn't necessarily going to be to optimize every single thing that you're doing. Like, there is training principles that are going to be super beneficial in certain ways, but you, like I said, you don't need to optimize everything. What's more important is going to be just something that you can stay consistent with, something that you actually enjoy doing, so that you keep coming back to the gym, because that's what's going to make you the progress. Is going to be just to actually keep showing up to the gym. And with that being said, like, the amount that you need to show up to the gym is going to vary based on the person. Like I said, if you have a manual labor job, then you don't need to necessarily show up as much, or it might actually be kind of going against your progress if you do show up more, if you're too tired to go, like, to actually train properly in the gym. So if you're someone who's working something super intense, working like 16-hour days or whatever you're doing for your job, then you might not want to go to the gym every single day when you're exhausted if your body isn't getting a chance to recover, right? So to actually, what's going to be really important in this case is going to be figuring out a time when you can work out throughout the week for you to actually still have proper recovery. And the way that you would want to figure that out is, like, actually go and experience it and ask yourself, was I able to train as hard as I could? And am I able to push myself a little bit more each time that I go train? And that's really all it comes down to as far as frequency. But you do want to still make sure that you're getting each muscle at least once a week, and ideally twice, but it's going to vary from person to person. All right. Anyways, that's it for today's podcast. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a message anytime. Appreciate you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and learned something, all I ask is that you share it with your family and friends so we can spread a healthier life to more people. Peace.